Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization. I'm going to show you around some of the places we were searching for Bigfoot, and this is one of the Bigfoot sighting reports I'm going to give you while we're searching that motivated us to look in some of these places. You're going to be seeing locations in several states because these took place in several states. The Crow Indian name wraps his tail, writes to RMSO. I've been interested in Bigfoot since I was a kid, and I lived in the state of Washington for about a year. I heard about Bigfoot while there. We returned home to my reservation. I would think about the stories I heard in Washington. During my high school years, I asked our elders about any Bigfoot stories. I was surprised that we have stories about them, even a couple of the places that are named after encounters with Bigfoot. I don't like to share publicly about the stories, but think the stories should be told to preserve them. I like to share them, but not sure how. People get ridiculed when they talk about them. For this reason, usually don't like talking about it, but I see people's posts about their encounters and feel I should share some of these stories. Let me know if you would want to hear them. I could share some of the stories just to keep them from being lost. RMSO responds, "We would love to hear about them and willing to keep you anonymous when we post them publicly on our blog." Rapsistel responds back, "Okay, how do we start?" Then he starts. "Okay, I'll start with how I got interested in the stories. I'm a member of the Crow tribe and live in a few miles outside of Billings, Montana. We moved to the state of Washington on the Macaw Indian Reservation in 1974. My dad took a job there as a cop. We moved there when I was a 4th grader. The town is called Nay Bay. It's the furthest point west you can go on the coast. My Macaw friends and I often played at the beach on the bay side. It was close to where we lived. A Macaw elder heard from her grandson that we liked to play at the beach and go up into the heavy timber. The timber is above the beach and across the main entry road to Nay Bay. She saw me at school and called me over. She told me not to go into the timber anymore. She said we could get lost or get abducted by some large hairy beings. She said their history talks about children being taken by these beings. She shared a story of seeing 3 of them one night raiding her trash cans at the edge of her yard. She lived in the country and was alone at the time of the incident. She said that they're out there. I thanked her for warning and told her that we will not go into the timber anymore. The story struck me ever since that time. Fast forward to when I was about 15. I was riding with my grandfather to our tribe's buffalo pasture in the Bighorn Mountains. We took a break from the rough rocky road to eat. It was near a place called Where They Seen a Being. I only knew the Crow name. I never really thought about why it was named that. I got curious looking at the high point of Where They Seen a Being. I asked my grandfather why it was called by that name. He said a large hairy being was seen there by crow hunters at the bottom of the canyon. He said the incident likely happened near the reservation period in the 1890s. The hunters were on horseback and coming out of the canyon on the trail. They ran into the being. The being was very large and hairy. He said it roared at the hunters and ran straight up the canyon wall. The terrain is steep. You almost have to crawl to go straight up the wall. It made it up to the top and went crazy. It roared and pulled up small pine trees with roots. He threw the Christmas tree-sized trees down at the hunters. He said the thing was strong to throw trees almost to where the hunters had stopped. The hunters decided to detour around the point where the being was standing. They decided on a separate trail that went below where the being was located. The being stood its ground. They finally made it out of the canyon several miles above the normal path of the trail. Recently, I happened to sit next to one of the elders from one of our communities. He knows many of the oral stories and our tribal history. I asked him about where they saw the being. I asked him if he knew why it was called by that name. He told me the exact same story as my grandfather did, but he added one interesting detail. The hunters watched the being run up the steep slope. They noticed it had a braided ponytail on the back of its head. What the hell? I really appreciate hearing about your tribal stories, Raps's and I, in conversation, we decided to use his Crow Indian name to keep him anonymous. What I really love about this story is how it ends, this last story, talking about the ponytail. It reminds me of the Russian Yeti photos that have been circulating. I'm going to show you guys these photos, and I think it has a wound in the back of its head, but a lot of people argue that this Russian Yeti, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, actually has a ponytail holding its hair back. I think it's a wound, but I'm going to show you the photos and you can decide for yourself. Even though these photos are clear, great photos, this creature's hard to see. It blends in very well. No wonder why Bigfoot's hard to notice. Circle on the creature right there in the back of its head. A lot of people think that's a ponytail wrap. I think it's a wound. There are several of these photos. Don't know what order they should be in. My good friend ThinkerThunker does a great breakdown of this creature. If you want to go to his YouTube channel, I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. He has more photos of the creature than I'm showing here. But this reminds me of your elder's grandfather Dill, where it runs up the mountain and they see the ponytail. Here's the creature looking at the camera one time before it leaves. My side of the debate, why this creature is wounded and it's not a ponytail, the particular Russian video, is because I believe this creature was not at the top of its game. That's why these people were able to get close enough to it and scare it up and get these amazing photos of the creature standing up and taking off, is because it had a wound and was trying to recover from the wound. And when I say back of the head, back of the neck, back of the head, Bigfoot really, a lot of people that see it, and those photos that I just showed you guys, a lot of people say it had no neck. Well, it really does have a neck, but the head and the neck, just like the gorilla, are kind of the same. So that wound's back of the neck, back of the head type area. And if you've got a wound back there, even a small one, you're probably not feeling very well. You're nursing it. He was probably sleeping, nursing away his wound, and these people got close enough to him that when it jumped up to take off, the photographer got a bunch of photos of it, and ThinkerThunker puts them in an arrangement that makes sense. It almost looks like a video of the creature standing up and taking off. Well, I just want to thank you for giving us your tribal history, and it just, when I heard about the ponytail, this come to mind. A lot of people think that Bigfoot had a ponytail. So, wonderful story. Love those photos also. I hope you guys enjoyed Tribal History of Bigfoot from the Crow. Keep on watching. We're going to keep on squatching.